Hey everybody, Bill 1911 here. Yeah, I told you as soon as we got the part came in for this P-38 that we would do part 2 on the P-38, and that would be the repair of the gun. Okay, so this is going to be the repair part. Okay, so the part came in. It was not hard to find. I went to a company called Gun Parts Corp, and they actually had the part in stock, and I was able to get it right away. So it wasn't a big problem to get it. So what I'm going to start out with doing is just cleaning on this part and making sure that there's no crap on the part. Oh, forgot my gloves. There's no crap on the part itself. So bear with me for a second while I put on some protective gear here. Okay, and there we go. I've said this plenty of times before, but I had a patron write in and tell me, hey, you know, you really ought to be wearing protective gloves when you're dealing with those chemicals. And he was absolutely right, so I'm kind of giving him a shout out. If you see this video, thanks again for bringing it up. Okay, so you know, it's weird. I've been doing this gunsmithing for, God, 40 years. And I never really wore gloves while I was doing it. I probably should have. Because sometimes the effects of different chemicals can be cumulative over time. So, let's clean this thing up. Okay. I'm going to go over the disassembly procedure on this thing one more time because there are a couple of little things about it that are kind of quirky that can kind of give you a hard time. And it's better if you don't have to find them out the hard way, you know. It's always better if you can find them out the easy way. Okay, now I'm seeing actually a little bit of rust on this thing. So I'm going to go get a brush, a bronze brush, and see if I can cure that little problem before I put it in the gun. Rust is very, very abrasive. It's hard. It's oxidized steel. And so it can cause problems with grinding mating surfaces down that you don't want ground down. So, all right. I'm going to be right back, and then we'll proceed. Okay, we're back. I brought a brass brush and a bronze brush back. Sometimes you can just brush these, and that light surface rust will just come right off, just like it just did. And once you get that cleaned up, that's what you want. When you put it in the gun, you don't want anything to cause more problems than you're fixing. So we're going to go over this and just get the surface rust off of these little spots. Okay, and then we'll stick her in the gun. This should be a drop-in fit. It shouldn't require any adjustments to it. But if it does, we'll deal with that as it comes. Okay. Sometimes you go to put a part in a gun and it just doesn't quite fit perfectly, so you got to fit it into the gun. So sometimes you have to do that. Alright, so disassembly procedure. There are two quirks to this gun. Actually three. Right here on the bottom of the slide, okay, on the same side as the disassembly lever, there's like a little U-shaped cutout, and that is designed so that you can rotate your disassembly lever through that point, okay? So I like to just stick my thumb in and just push that thing straight back into position and then grab that disassembly lever and pull it on around, okay? And then you can release it and the slide will come right off. Now, if the gun is cocked, okay, the slide will not come off, okay? Even though the disassembly lever's in the right place, it won't come off if that gun is cocked, okay? So, the other thing is if the magazine is in, okay, the slide will not come off. So you have to have those two conditions met before you can take the slide off, and then it'll come right off the gun, no problem. Okay? So from there, in order to take the barrel out of the gun, there's this little button right back here on the back, okay? You press that little button like that, and it opens that locking dog, okay? And that will allow the barrel and the entire unit to slide out. From there, simply lift up, push forward a little bit, lift up on the locking dog, and it comes right out from underneath, okay? Now, as you can see, this corner was broken right off of here. What most likely happened is that somebody put high pressure ammunition in this gun. In other words, instead of standard 9mm in this older P-38, they very likely put in 9mm plus P, or maybe even plus P plus, and it snapped off this locking dog, okay? It really shouldn't have happened, because I mean, you should only use the ammunition that is recommended by the manufacturer for that particular gun. So on this P-38, it's an older model, and I don't see anywhere on it where it's specifically written 9mm parabellum only. So now I'm looking again just to double check to make sure I'm not wrong, but I don't see it anywhere on here. That said, most modern manufactured guns all have it printed right on the gun somewhere exactly what ammunition to use. If you have one of these older P-38s that doesn't have the reinforcing bolt in it, that doesn't have the updated equipment in it, don't use high pressure ammo. You're just asking for trouble, because this blew one of the lock dogs off. What would have happened if it had blown both sides of this off? Okay? You could have had a real mess in your hand. So we're going to press this back into place, okay? And it's not coming right down right off the bat, so we're going to find out exactly why, okay? Okay, it did go in. How about that? It went in. It was very stiff, but it did go in. And now that it's in place, it seems to be fitting just fine. So I don't think we're going to have a problem with it. All right. That looks actually pretty good. I think we're going to be okay with that. We'll function test it to make sure, but I don't think it's going to give us a hard time. It looks like it's going to be just fine. All right, so we're going to lubricate it a little bit, because after we clean this, it's going to be a little bit dry. Now get in there. Funny how that drop of oil can go anywhere but where you want it to sometimes. And then you have to clean up the mess. Alright, now we're going to work it back and forth a little bit. Make sure it gets into all the little nooks and crannies where it's supposed to go. Okay, and then we're going to go to the other end. Make sure it's lubricated there as well. Okay, and we want a little bit right down in here. Now this is going to be a high contact area. There's a lot of moving parts in here that are in constant motion with every single shot. All of this cycles. So you're going to want to make sure that you do have it lubricated. Okay, so let's stick her back together and see how she looks. Okay, now that went right into place. Locking dog went down. Locks up just fine. Does what it's supposed to. All right. So, from here, all right, we look a little dry in a couple of places on this slide, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of oil here and there, just to make sure I've got it lubricated well, because I don't think it's real good. Anywhere where you see shiny metal, where it's starting to shine, it's shining because there's wear on it, because it's wearing. Okay, so those are locations where you really probably should have some oil, some lubrication. Okay. Again, don't drown the gun. You don't want it to be so slippery you can't hang on to it. Okay, there we go. Now the back one goes into place, and we are reassembled, and function is working properly. Okay, now what do we mean by it's functioning properly? Okay, the slide comes back a little bit in unison with the barrel. Okay, this is a locked breech short recoil action, or delayed blowback, as is common vernacular where I'm from. Okay, if you'll notice, when it moves back, everything is moving back together. If I can get it to move for you easily so that you can see it. Okay, the slide and barrel are coming back on that frame together as a unit. Once it reaches that point, that button inside butts up against a little wall that's in there, and it presses the button, causing this lock dog to drop out of position, allowing the slide to release from the barrel. Okay, and then it'll move back on its own. Okay. Alright, so that seems to be just fine, seems to be working like it's supposed to. We're going to check everything else. Okay. Alright, that works. Alright, that works. Okay, so everything seems to be functioning the way it's supposed to. Alright, so I think we're good to go. The next step in this will be to take it out and pop a few rounds through it and see how she goes. Alright, so that's your Walther P-38, repaired and ready for action. And remember, don't use hot ammo in one of these older guns. Okay, if you have any questions on whether your gun is one of the older ones that's not bolstered and reinforced to take the hotter ammunition, if you have any questions at all, don't take the chance. Take it to your local gun shop. Have him talk to his gunsmith and say, hey, is this one of those older ones or not? Okay, make sure that you take care to do that, because you definitely don't want one of these coming apart in your hand. And as you can see from that broken part, overpressure ammunition is dangerous. It can really hurt you. Okay, it can really be a problem. All right, so from here we're going to go out and we're going to make a few holes in the ground. Okay, here we go. Hey everybody, Bill 1911 here. If you found this video to be helpful and informative, don't forget to like us, and please subscribe, and by all means come to visit us at askbill1911.com. Also, I want to talk to you about something that's very important to us, and that's your safety. So please, don't try any of the things you see on our videos until you have thoroughly reviewed and understood our safety procedures. If you're under 18 years of age, do not try any of these topics without the express permission of your parent or guardian. Thank you.